Before you fall in love with that charming older home here in Lubbock, let me show you what's usually hiding behind the walls. I've watched this exact thing happen to buyers probably 3 or 4 times this year already. They see the hardwood floors and the crown molding and they stop thinking straight. And look, I get it. Old homes have character. New construction just can't fake. But character doesn't tell you what the foundation is doing under your feet right now. And look, I absolutely love older homes for the same reasons. My job as an agent is to make sure that the following things have already been replaced or taken care of, or that we are getting it at a price where it allows for it in the future. Hey y'all, Justin here. I've sold homes all over Lubbock for years now, old ones and new. I don't have a dog in this fight really. I grew up in a home built in the early 60s and now I live in a 2019 home. Both are great in their own right. I'm not here to tell you that old homes are bad. Some of my favorite closings ever have been on nearly 100-year-old houses. I'm here to give you the honest thoughts on what you're actually buying when you buy older so nobody surprises you at closing table. And by the end of this video, I'm also going to tell you exactly when buying older is the smarter move, because sometimes it is. So let's get into it. So here's the thing nobody tells first-time home buyers. When you buy a home built before, say, 85, you're not just buying a house, you're buying whatever's left of its roof, its foundation, its plumbing, its electrical, 4 systems, and every one of them has a clock that's running on it. Let's start with foundation because in Lubbock, this one matters more than people think. So our soil out here is this expansive clay. That clay soaks up water and swells, and then it dries out and shrinks over and over year after year. Foundation engineers will tell you that swelling clay can push up on a slab with something like 5,000 pounds of pressure per foot. That's not a scare tactic. That's just the geology out here. It's why you'll see post-tension slabs on newer construction, builders engineering around a soil problem that's been cracking houses in West Texas for decades now. An older home built before that was standard practice did not get that advantage. Okay, now plumbing. I've had inspections come back on a beautiful 3-bedroom where the pipes were still the original galvanized steel from the 1960s. Galvanized pipe has a real lifespan of like 40 to 50 years before it starts rusting from the inside out and choking down your water pressure. 60-year-old pipe isn't a maybe, it's already past due now. Here's my rule with plumbing. If it was built before about 1980, chances are it's cast iron piping unless it's been replaced. We must pay to have a sewer scope done and see what's going on under the house. And if you are staring down a whole house repipe, that's like $4,000 to $20,000 depending on the job. It's crazy. So electrical actually is the one that scares me the most, honestly, because you can't always see it. Homes wired before the 50s sometimes still have knob and tube wiring, no ground wire, and the rubber insulation on those old lines gets brittle and crumbles after enough decades. Homes built in the mid 60s or 70s sometimes have aluminum branch wiring instead of copper, and federal studies found homes with aluminum wiring are dozens of times more likely to have a fire hazard at the outlets. And if your panel says Federal Pacific on it, oh yeah, I look at every single one to make sure. That's a brand with documented breaker failures that a lot of insurance companies won't even write a policy around anymore. That's not me being dramatic. Again, that's just what the inspection report is going to say. Their breakers are known to not trip when they're supposed to, and lots of fires have happened due to it and lots of court cases. So the roof is the most straightforward of the 4, but out here with our hail and wind, an asphalt shingle roof usually gets you like 10 to 15 years, sometimes less, sometimes more, just depending on what storms it's been through. We've had a bunch lately. 4 systems, every older home is running some combination of these clocks, whether the listing photos show it or not, and most of them don't. A good inspector is going to climb in your attic. They're going to walk on your roof if it's safe, test your outlets, run your water. But here's what surprised me early in my career. An inspection is a snapshot, not a guarantee. It tells you what's visible and testable on one day. It doesn't tell you what's behind a wall that nobody's opened up in 40 years. So when your inspector flags something, don't panic automatically, but don't wave it off either. Ask questions, get a specialist out if they recommend one, whether that's a foundation engineer or a licensed electrician. I've seen buyers walk from a great house over something something that was like a $200 fix. And I've seen buyers ignore a real structural issue because they were just tired of house hunting and wanted it to be over with. Both mistakes, both avoidable if you slow down for 2 extra days. Let me just say it plain that older home might be $30,000 cheaper than new construction on the sign out front, but if the roof's got 5 years left and the AC's on borrowed time, you haven't saved that $30,000. You've deferred it to next year with interest because prices don't go down. I always tell my clients, get a rough repair estimate before you fall in love with the price tag. A trusted inspector and a contractor buddy of mine can usually give you a real hard number within a day or two. That number changes the whole conversation, and it should be a part of your offer, not a surprise 6 months after you move in. So stick with me because I promised you the other side of the coin, and I mean it. There are real situations where the older home is the better financial decision, not just the more charming one. Look at a neighborhood like Tech Terrace, for example. That neighborhood got platted back in 1925. It was Lubbock's first real suburb, and most of those homes went up between like the 30s and the 60s. You cannot buy that lot, those mature trees, or that walk to Texas Tech with new construction. It just doesn't exist. Same story in a lot of Clapp Park, Melonie Park, full of those classic 1950s ranch style homes with the stacked stones and the big front porches. That character and location are not something a builder can replicate on a slab on the edge of town. Older homes also tend to sit on bigger lots. They've got way more separation between houses because lot sizes have shrunk in a lot of newer developments to fit more homes per acre. It's bad. If you want yard space, mature landscaping that took 40 years to grow in a neighborhood that already has sidewalks, established schools, and a personality, older is very often the only way to get that. There's a construction quality argument too, and I'll say it because it's true. A lot of homes built in the 50s, 60s, and 70s were framed with solid lumber. By solid, I mean the wood used was typically from older and more mature trees, which is just straight up hardwood, versus the younger trees and wood used often today. And they were built by crews who weren't racing a subcontractor schedule the way some production builders are today. That doesn't mean every old home is better built. It means age alone isn't the enemy. Deferred maintenance, that's your enemy. And financially, older homes usually run with a lower price per square foot than comparable new construction in the same part of town. No HOA in a lot of the older neighborhoods, and an established track record of appreciation that you can actually look up instead of betting on brand new or a brand new subdivision that really hadn't proven itself yet. Oh, and taxes. These homes are often in LASD, meaning way cheaper taxes. If you have kids that are homeschooling or going to private school, I see a lot of these families looking in Lubbock proper, and also families that are trying to have their kids go to some of the specialized Lubbock schools with things like magnet programs, for example. So here's my honest read. If you find an older home where the big four systems have already been updated, new roof, updated panel, repiped plumbing, and the foundation's been monitored and it's stable, you're getting the character and the location with none of the ticking clocks. That's your sweet spot. That's the home that I tell my clients to move fast on. Okay, now on the flip side, because I don't want you thinking new is the automatic safe choice either, new construction here in Lubbock has been booming, and I get asked all the time if that means worry-free. Nope, wouldn't recommend assuming that. New builds have their own risks. Rush subcontractors, punch list items that don't get fixed before closing, and sometimes corners cut you won't find out until maybe year 2 or 3. Different risk, same lesson. Get it inspected. Read the paperwork and ask the hard questions. That's the whole arrangement, whether the house is 5 years old or 75 years old. I often see brand new construction inspections that are awful. And I was shocked when I first learned that, but awful. So here's my actual takeaway. Not just get an inspection. Everybody says that. My takeaway is this. Before you even make an offer, ask your agent for a rough age and condition of the roof, foundation condition, plumbing, and electrical. If they don't know, that tells you something too. That's our job. That's always been the job, to help you see past the paint and the staging into what you're really buying. So if you're thinking about buying here in Lubbock, old home or new, send me a message and let's talk it through before you ever write an offer. And hey, if this was helpful, I would so appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel. It really helps this information get out to a broader audience, and it's what I love to do. I love to educate and to provide value. Also, if you are planning on buying or selling this year, let's make a game plan. Let's talk about some of the benefits of, maybe buying old, or if you're looking at new construction, I can walk you through who some of the best builders are in town. I've got a knowledge bank that I wish I could just pour onto this video all at once, but just send me a message and let's talk it through. I want to know what's going on in your life specifically that's causing you to need to either sell or buy a new home, because that's what matters, and we'll strategize around that. Anyways, I'll see y'all in the next one.